Okay, good evening, everybody. The time is 7:04 p.m. Sorry, we're a few minutes late with technical difficulties. Today is Monday, February 9th, 2026. It's the regular meeting of the Town Council. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Kristen Gaida.
Here.
James Morelli.
Here.
Tony Morrison.
Here.
Christopher Palmieri.
Here.
Joshua Serafino.
Here.
David Zoni.
Here.
Jennifer Klock.
Here.
Michael Del Santo.
Present.
Paul Chaplinsky.
Here, looks like all the council members are here. We also have Chrissy Marino, who's sitting in for the town manager tonight, who is absent, so welcome Chrissy to the meeting. Chrissy's the director of our finance department, so thanks for being here tonight. Okay, I'd like to ask everybody to please stand for the prayer, flag salute, and a moment of silence.
Help us this night to do the right thing in all of the issues that we consider. Help us to not be persuaded by popular opinion or political ambition, but rather to see this office we hold as a gift from you. Help us walk upright in this calling. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, if I can ask everybody to please remain standing. A number of you probably have heard that earlier this morning, we received the extremely sad news that former Planning and Zoning Commission Chairman Robert Hammersley lost his battle to cancer and passed away. So I would like to honor Mr. Hammersley, his long dedication to the town of Southington, to various charities, the church in the center of town, First Congregation, that he has been a member of and has supported, state of Connecticut, various commissions he's been on there. And please, if we can have a moment of silence to honor Robert Hammersley. Thank you, everybody. Okay, item 2 today, I'm looking for a motion to approve the minutes from our regular meeting of January 26, 2022.
So moved.
We have a motion from Councilwoman Gaida and a second from Vice Chair Klock. Any discussion? Okay, hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion passes unanimously. Thanks, everybody. Item 3, councilperson communications. We're going to start first by, before we get into the councilperson communications on the dais, we have a brief presentation from our AMR representative and captain of our volunteer firehouse downtown, Andrew Rennie. He's here to talk to us a little bit about some awareness for CPR in recognition of Heart Month this month, and to get everybody a little bit of exposure to CPR. And we're looking for somebody to also be a volunteer who's willing to do a little demonstration that Andrew will walk you through. So is there somebody on the dais who would be willing to do that?
Do you want me to do it?
Sure, come on. Okay, when you're called, would you like Kristen to come up now? Wonderful. The microphone is yours. If you can do me, do you have a presentation on the
There's
thing?
no present.
Do me a favor, can you just move the mouse to keep the computer awake?
Absolutely.
Thanks.
I'll just
Great.
sit here and fidget while.
So it's yours. Thank you for coming out tonight.
Thank you. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. My name is Andrew Rennie. I am a part of the leadership team for American Medical Response of Waterbury and Farmington Valley. And as the chairman also mentioned, I'm a member of our fire department here in town. I've lived here for 15 years and joined a month after moving down here to Southington. February is Heart Health Awareness Month, and to honor that, I wanted to have this opportunity to present hands-only CPR to the town council as well as to all of your watchers through various social media, etc. 70% of cardiac arrest happens at home or in the workplace. Evidence has shown that bystander CPR, recognition of sudden cardiac arrest, and quick initiation of compressions to keep blood flowing throughout the body, particularly to the brain, increases the chance of survival exponentially. It only takes a minute to learn hands-only CPR, and this vital part of CPR, that is the compressions, can save lives time and time again. After 911 is initiated, the most important thing is to immediately start to render aid to give that person the best chance of survival. Over the years, we have taught hands-only CPR at the Apple Harvest at our booth, and I had the opportunity to speak to some members of our own community who have survived sudden cardiac arrest because of a family member initiating hands-only CPR in their house. So we've had that opportunity to teach hands-only CPR to hundreds of our own townspeople, as well as those who come and visit the Apple Harvest each year. There are two simple steps to hands-only CPR. Call 911 and press hard and fast on the center of the chest. That's it. With that, you'll keep blood flowing throughout the body, blood to the brain, and give that person a much better chance at survival. So, Kristen, if you'd like to be the next contestant on...
Excellent.
I don't know if they'll be able to see it from my tabletop, so I don't know.
do it right here? Are you okay with kneeling on the floor right?
Does the camera see over here on the table?
Yeah, the camera will see. Yep. Right there, yep,
They can see.
I'm pretty sure. You want to just double check that we can,
So while we're checking if the camera can see, first and foremost, we need to make sure that our victim is on a hard surface. We don't want to perform CPR on a surface that's going to absorb the compressions that we're doing. We want to make sure that we have good depth on the chest in order to make sure that we're compressing the heart to cause that circulation and the blood flow throughout the body. For demonstration purposes, we'll do it here on the desk. The best place is if we can safely get that victim to the floor. Are we good with this placement? Okay.
and if it's possible, can you, to the
Would you like
greatest,
me to narrate from
or
back
maybe
here?
the microphone at the end of the dais will also work? Try to talk into the microphone there.
I don't want to be in.
You could take it.
I don't need to talk though.
You don't
That's
want
right.
to talk? Okay.
No.
Okay.
There you go, just talking to the mic so the people remote will hear us.
Okay. So the first
And-
thing
And
we
I'm
wa-
sorry, the camera's probably over there, so if you want, step this way a little bit. There you go.
I was looking
That's
at
good.
that camera.
You're good.
I'm not used to cameras.
I think it's behind
Okay.
you on the wall.
Excellent. So the first thing that we want to check for is responsiveness to make sure that the person is in fact unresponsive. It is pretty well known that doing CPR on someone who is not unresponsive is considered rude. Once we've determined that the person is unresponsive and not breathing, we are simply going to place your hand in the center of the chest, lock your fingers together, and press hard and fast on the center of the chest at 100 to 120 beats per minute, or simply to the tune of the Bee Gees, Staying Alive. And you'll continue those compressions until first responders arrive. And when they arrive and they take over the compressions, you've done your part in closing that gap and being that integral link in the chain of survival. Thank you, Kristen. Nice job.
Thank you, Kristen.
It's like she knows what she's doing.
It's that simple. Thank you for this opportunity. It's just a quick demonstration. There are a lot of other steps to full CPR, but those compressions are the key link to survival. So,
Can you do us a favor?
Sure.
There's a lot of people out here who have been trained, and there's some people who have been trained but maybe haven't been trained in a while, and there's others who haven't been trained. Can you just talk a little bit about some, if you're not familiar with it and you try it, can you talk about liability and things like that?
absolutely. So, in rendering aid, whether you have training or not, as long as you are rendering aid to your level of ability and training, you are covered under the Good Samaritan Act, which means you have no liability in rendering aid to someone who is incapacitated, in cardiac arrest, or even just generally ill, provided that you don't do anything crazy. Don't try to breathe for someone with a pen through their throat. But by rendering aid like hands-only CPR, you're covered under the Good Samaritan Act as a Good Samaritan who is just trying to help their fellow citizens.
Look for CPR classes somewhere. A lot of times employers do it.
Yes, so-
Local fire departments, police departments.
CPR classes in your community, I know that that they're offered throughout the community. The health department will sometimes offer classes here in town. And if you're looking for a class, you can certainly reach out to the fire department, American Medical Response. We can find something for you, and there's always listings on the American Heart Association and the Red Cross websites. That's
wonderful. Maybe, Chrissy, we can ask you to take your first action item for tonight and ask the town manager, in the spirit of this month, to look at some information about Heart Month and see if there's any information about local classes for CPR and have that put out on our social media page.
Sure, I'll do that, Mr.
Thank you.
Chairman.
Appreciate that.
And just as one last thing, to continue our awareness for Heart Health Month, this upcoming Friday at the Calendar House, American Medical Response is going to have some staff there from noon to probably about 4 o'clock, depending on how long bingo lasts. I don't play bingo, so I'm not sure. But we'll be there for the entirety of the event, doing blood pressure screenings and handing out the file of life to those who are there. So just as another way of encouraging cardiovascular health here in town.
Any questions? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming out.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate it, and thanks for your service. Okay. Would anybody like to speak during councilmatic communications?
Yeah, I'll start. As said at this dais, 2 meetings ago, we're going to discuss in the next sewer committee the receivables issue with the Director of Collections, Haroline Monorat, and the thing I wanted to mention to you all is that there's quite a few things that are going to be part of this, not just technology, but also processes and different ways of doing things. And one of the different ways of doing things, I discussed it a little bit with Harolee, in composing the agenda for the sewer committee. And one of those was something that may need action fairly quickly, say by next month, which is she wants to propose changing the sewer billing from 4 times a year to twice a year. The cons of that are people get a bigger bill. The pros, though, that all of a sudden she'll have a lot more time available with her staff to address collections issues. And anyway, she'll be proposing things like this at the next sewer committee. We're not her boss, obviously. We're a customer. But I think it may, if people, think it's a good thing, it'll end up here because the town council has to make that decision. Okay, so just to tee it up, that may well happen, and it has to be done in March for timing reasons. Okay, that's it.
So more to come on that
Oh, yeah,
after
more to
your sewer committee this
Yeah.
week, right?
Yeah, it's this week or this Thursday.
Okay, stay tuned. Anybody else? Jen?
Yes, so we are cruising along on the POCD. We're in a really good place. We're having the second of our 2 community feedback meetings here Wednesday, 5 to 8. And it's a drop-in style meeting. And so basically what we're focusing on now is we're looking for feedback on the draft of the vision, goals, strategies, and actions. And we reviewed those as a committee, and everything's coming together. So really just exciting to be moving along this process. So if you do have time, drop in, provide some feedback. It is very much appreciated.
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair. Anybody else? Chris?
I've got a couple items. First of all, actually, it's timely with the presentation we had. I had the pleasure of attending with you, Paul, the Live Well event that was not last week, the week before. Just an incredible asset in our community. Hearing from the doctors there, Paul, it was incredible to hear the impact they're making and the way they're able to assist people even now versus 10 years ago. So and we're very fortunate in our community to have that. Some updates from STEPS. In line with the Super Bowl, the Youth Council had a campaign called Keep Teens Super Safe, and it was just about advising people, especially adults in our community, about the Connecticut Social Host Law. So huge shout out to our Youth Council for doing that for us. Also, I'm pleased to report that STEPS Youth Council received a $5,000 grant from CREC, Demas, Problem Gambling Services, and Connecticut Council of Problem Gambling to create a PSA. So this past weekend, the students worked together to create a public service announcement against gambling addiction in our town. All the videos will be showcased on March 25th, so a lot of good work there. And finally, STEPS Youth Peer Advocate Ava LeBlanc is being recognized at the WISE annual dinner with the Youth Leadership Award. So we're very proud of Ava and want to just acknowledge her, and she'll be recognized that night at the YMCA dinner. Not yesterday, but a week ago, I had the pleasure of attending the MLK Award, the annual award at the First Baptist Church. 2 students were honored, Nanor Kevorkian and Owen Warner. This was in person at the church. If you remember, it was canceled actually due to the snowstorm the week prior. So it was great to see that event actually occurred. And huge thanks to Nanor and Owen for their contributions in Kennedy and DePaulo Middle School. Leaf with the winter. If I could, I'd like to include this in our minutes, if that's okay. They're doing a spring grapevine wreath making workshop. So hopefully with this winter, get out of the cold a little bit and get involved with something to get ready for the spring. And finally, I'd be remiss if I didn't share. I'm sure I share on behalf of all of us, wishing the very best to Austin Florian, who is a former student of mine at DePaulo and a Southington resident who is on Wednesday competing for the first time skeleton in the U.S. Olympics in Italy. So just a huge shout out to Austin. His town is very proud. Like I said, I'm sure I speak for all of us when I say that. We're
Is it
very
tonight, Chris? I think it's 2
Wednesday.
I thought it was 2 a.m., maybe tomorrow night then.
Which I think is aired
Replayed.
Wednesday here. You're
Okay.
right, Mike. It's something with the time
Yeah,
difference,
the
but
Peacock, I believe, has, you can
Exactly.
watch all the events.
yeah.
My wife was watching.
So
it.
we're very proud of him, and it's
stuff.
great
Yeah.
putting Southington on the map worldwide.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Dave? Michael Riccio, can you please just go shake the mouse and make sure the computer doesn't go to sleep?
Why'd that thing a jiggle?
Thanks, Dave.
I had the pleasure of attending a press conference on January 30th at the Southington Water Department when our representative, John Larson, presented us with a check for $3 million, which was pretty good for the town of Southington to help mitigate the issue of PFAS, a chemical that appears in the water. Even though our levels right now are pretty low, they're poised to be made lower by DEP. So we're getting ready to purchase equipment to mitigate that situation and make sure our water is safe for everyone. So the $3 million will come in handy, and we owe John Larson a round of applause. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave. Anybody else? Aquaturf?
I just wanted to add, the Live Well session was to let people know that there's a brain health program being sponsored at Live Well for anybody that wants to join. And it's being led by, like Chris said, world-renowned scientists that understand that you can do things, not only with practice with your brain, but even your diet and your activity to eliminate Alzheimer's, or at least put off the sudden onset. And again, it's free to all residents. Well, actually, anybody can go, not even residents. It's free. And I think it's very worthwhile. You can find information out on the Live Well website. And then this past Friday, the Calvin East Foundation sponsored a Valentine's Gala for handicapped people, and it was unbelievable. It's the second year. There were 170 candidates, and then about another 100 caregivers. So there were over 250 people at the AquaTurf, and it was unbelievable. They danced and had a great time, photo booth. And so thank you to the Calvin East Foundation and all the volunteers. There were quite a few. Thanks.
Thanks, Jim. Anybody else? Yep, just piggybacking on that, the dementia, the dementia study is called the Finger Study Clinic, and it's got 5 principles. Finger doesn't necessarily mean the 5 fingers. It means finish as in FINNISH, geriatric, so finger. And they do daily, weekly, and monthly activities for those who would like to participate in the clinic to help with better understanding and improving brain health. And, they presented, quite a compelling story from the trials that have been done, or the studies that have been done, that shows that exercising your brain, cardiac health, social health, some of those things that are part of the five pillars can help prevent and prolong Alzheimer's and dementia type diagnoses. So it's encouraged for as many people to consider going to Live Well and at least learning more and seeing if it's something that you want to participate in and help the clinic. I also attended with Jim the AquaTurf. A special shout out to the volunteers and the Calvin East family, and also Diana Sheard, whose love and passion each and every day, including for this event, the second annual event, which has grown tremendously from last year. It was so heartwarming to be a part of that and be there with you, Jim. So thank you, Diana, for pulling this together, you and all of your volunteers. And then the last thing I had mentioned at the beginning of the meeting about the passing of Bob Hammersley. The vice chair and I had an opportunity to, and Mr. Del Santo, put together a proclamation and visit Mr. Hammersley this weekend. And we had a great chat with him. It made a lot of laughs and some smiles. And we proclaimed this February 14th as Bob Hammersley's Day to honor the service and dedication of Bob here in the community. So as we're all celebrating Valentine's Day and spending some time with loved ones, please consider saying a prayer for Bob and his family. A special thanks to his family as well for all of the time and support that they provided, just like all of the families of everybody who's up here, who behind the scenes are there for all of us and pave the way for all of us to volunteer in the community as well. So please think of Bob and his family and on this upcoming February 14th. And I did make a request and speak to the town manager this morning and had requested that we'll lower the Southington flag at the town hall this entire week until the services are concluded for Bob Hammersley. Okay, with that, we're going to move on to item 4, report of special committees. Item A, self-insurance. Anybody? Anybody? Go to the self-insurance meeting at the Board of Finance? Okay, let me give everybody a brief update. I wanted to ensure that, that everybody was aware because there seems to be some ongoing confusion about self-insurance. And I wanted to clarify for those who are watching this that, and I'll send this in a memo to everybody. You know, Mr. Leary and I had spoken at the beginning of this session and agreed that self-insurance would be held every other meeting at the Board of Finance. So while we aren't having the subcommittees because we were having problems getting quorums with the people who were assigned to this over the last few years, including the last few meetings of the last cycle, in addition to that, we found that having the decisions from the subcommittee were only advisory to the Board of Finance. And so the Board of Finance is really the decision maker for all of the stuff regarding self-insurance and the budget. So if there's an interest, and I hope there is for some of those on the council, John Leary will be continuing to hold self-insurance meeting topics, the first hour of every Board of Finance meeting, every other Board of Finance meeting. And he is inviting the professional that we currently contract with to attend that meeting and present his analysis like he did at self-insurance. He's also inviting the resident who was on the self-insurance committee to also attend those meetings, and as well as our finance director who will be there, and of course the Board of Education finance director. So a lot of the key players that were on self-insurance, I would call the core players, are going to be at that meeting, and I would encourage town council and Board of Education representatives to attend. John Leary has agreed to ensure that anybody from this board who has an opinion after presenting can also ask questions, give opinions at that meeting, just like they would during self-insurance. And then decisions would be made right there at the Board of Finance meeting to streamline the process. So please have a look out for that. They did the next. We went to sleep, Mike, on the computer. So have a look at the next Board of Finance meeting after this one, which is in March, for the next update on self-insurance. And I'll have John Leary send out some information on that so everybody knows which months he'll be having that on. Okay, Chris.
Thank you. I know you were, and Josh also was at the Board of Ed meeting, the special meeting last week, so there was a lot of talk there on both sides, you know, about self-insurance. So I'd asked maybe the Board of Ed, because it is 2/3 really is education employees, be given the same courtesy as you just explained for the council.
We'll put something in writing to the entire Board of Ed for sure.
That would be
Agree.
great. So
Yeah,
if they
thanks.
show up, you know.
And I'll say it here, I said it to the people, I was at the Board of Ed meeting this week, and I did speak to a few of the people who were on the Board of Ed who had made some comments about self-insurance, like, who had said, you know, if only there was a self-insurance committee. You know, my message to everybody here, if you have and the same with the Board of Ed, if you have a question about self-insurance from this board or the Board of Education, we have professionals on town government side and the Board of Ed side. We have finance directors who are in tune and working on the self-insurance topic in the background. So if you have a question about percentage split of town government versus Board of Ed, or the recent analysis from our expert that we contract with self-insurance, or an opinion about, you know, what the two professionals from the directors of finance of education and government, who are the you know, significant input into the self-insurance committee. If you have a question, ask. Either ask it in writing, ask it during councilmanic communications, but send Chrissy an email, ask through the town manager or at a councilmanic communication, And we can ask Chrissy, and Chrissy will get us the information. She'll give us an opinion on stuff, and you know, her job, just because the self-insurance, us, the volunteers, are not having a self-insurance meeting, there's still a lot of activity going on at both the Board of Finance on self-insurance and by the finance directors of both town government and Board of Education. So reach out to them, and they'll be happy to bring that as a topic, and we, of course, can have a discussion if there's questions on it. Okay? Good. Thanks, Chris, for the suggestion. Okay. Item B, Technology Subcommittee. Jen?
Yes, we had a wonderful meeting. Josh was in attendance, as was Dave as well. And we covered a number of topics. First, we reviewed the website launch and updates, which we've been talking about at these meetings. And so that is underway. Basically, what IT is working on are some background cleaning up and efficiency improvements on that. But we are officially .gov. So we are in compliance, which is great. We also discussed the Google migration, which, if you recall, was one of the top priorities that the technology committee identified. This is going to open up a whole new world for municipal staff members in terms of collaboration, security. Mitch went over all of the benefits, which are numerous, but improved security, faster email delivery, better collaboration tools, and just overall ease of use. So they've got a number of people already migrated over, and so they're just working on a phased approach for that. Mitch is also working on a fiber project, and so he explained the benefits of our municipality moving over to a fiber network. So again, improving our security. So we also talked about this in the POCD. A lot of focus has always been on physical attributes of infrastructure, roads, sewers, but there was never a focus on IT until you, Mr. Chair, made it a priority. And it is every bit as important as all of these other infrastructures that we discuss and invest in. And so Mitch is right on the ball and, making sure that we are the most secure we could possibly be or moving toward it. It's going to reduce IT infrastructure costs and do some future proofing for increased bandwidth needs among a slew of other improvements that are needed when you're talking about municipality that has to communicate with each department, and it's critical that we do so. We also talked about virtual and in-person meetings and the ability or non-ability to hear at certain meetings. And so I want to also give Mitch and his team credit because rather than waiting until the meeting to talk about it, he had already done his due diligence and did research and is talking with a number of audiovisual vendors to see how we can make improvements and possibly reuse the equipment that we already have. And so his team is working on that. And so I think that once they're done evaluating that, we will see some improvements. And also in line with that, we talked about the AI dictation software, which I think you've seen at some of the meetings. They're using Otter, which is just it's AI-based, and it will take notes. In fact, the technology notes were taken by Otter, so they're very much more detailed than previous. So we're going to kind of talk about how we can implement that and kind of organize a system where it's contiguous amongst all the committees. But I think they want to make sure that we identify the best software first. And that was it. So yes, we covered a lot of topics. Did I miss anything? Okay.
You got everything.
Any questions for Jen? Couple, we got our first meeting minutes from the last council meeting here that was dictated from AI. It's a little bit different. So, I think we'll learn as we go and continue to improve on these, but it's good to see that we are stepping in the right direction of easier, faster, hopefully lower cost as well. For those who haven't had their email migrated over yet, it was a pretty easy process, simple. So if you haven't done it, please contact Mitch, make your appointment. You know, I was 5 or 10 minutes, and it's working very well. For those who are watching, everybody, if you're trying to email council members, our emails have changed from first initial last name at southington.org. It is now first name dot last name at southingtonct.gov. And so you could take that note. They're all going to be on the website as well. The old email addresses will still work in the background. They will forward to the new email addresses for some time. But if you're trying to get the email address correct, it's first name dot last name at southingtonct.gov once everybody's up and running.
I was gonna
Yeah.
just say, I thought our old ones still work.
Yeah, they're still work, yeah.
You answered it.
A reminder, I think this was brought up in previous meeting, but I want to, as you're on the IT topic, Jen, I want to encourage everybody to drive activity to this site. The new town of Southington website has a suggestions and complaints form now. And when you click on that, there'll be drop downs in there that allows you to report a pothole, report an experience, report, something that you see, snow plow. If you see a need or an issue, you're having a poor experience or a positive experience, go to the suggestions, complaints, fill it in. I would encourage everybody here to, if you get calls, try to drive as much of the activity as we can to that site because it's logging them in. And it's going to create a repository of items that town staff can get when it comes to feedback and complaints that they can see and prioritize on a daily basis. And then as they get worked on, they can be checked off, and we can periodically ask for a report on how that's looking. So I would suggest if you get a call, if you can, try to drive them to that site so that the transparency is there, the follow-up is there, et cetera. Okay. Item C.
Paul.
Oh, sorry, Dave.
I just want to say, as a new member of the committee, I was very impressed with Mr. Gugliotti and his staff. They're really moving us into the 21st century. Jen went over all the fine points of what they're working on. It is absolutely remarkable. So a big shout out to Mitch and his crew.
That's wonderful. Okay. Item C, open space. Jen, again.
So we did not have a quorum at our meeting, so no formal business, but we are working on developing some new marketing initiatives and as well as preparing for the spring. We have our community gardens on Pleasant Street, and we also have a big, our barn up and coming. So those are all things that we are continuing to work on.
Questions on open space? Okay, hearing none. Item D, ordinance committee. Tony.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, we had a first meeting. Actually had a full quorum, which is unusual, but good for the ordinance review. Sorry, Chris. We looked into three things. Two leftovers from last year, which was the issue of the e-bikes and the issue of graffiti on town property. And there was one new one, which was to do with incident reports by car crashes that there was. I'll get into detail with that when I get to it. But the first two, the reason we put the e-bikes on hold was because we were going to rely on state legislation on how they determine what class of e-bikes there are, and we'll determine what we're going to do with each class. The proposed thing wasn't that good. It was a bit confusing, but the legislation we have now has a very good chart of how it breaks them down. What I'll do is, for the people on the dais, I'll pass this around because it does illustrate very well, as opposed to just talking about it. But I'll talk about it, obviously, for the people listening. If you could pass it around, check it out, and eventually put it back to Kathy, because I want it in the minutes, obviously. So, All right, what the legislation does is it actually puts e-bikes into 4 different classes, and it's based on the power of the e-bike in particular, which is defined as the wattage of the battery. So the 4 classes are Class 1 e-bike, Class 2 motor-driven cycle, and motorcycle. And again, it depends on the power. And if you want a quick sort of look at it, the Class 1 and the Class 2s, they're 20 miles per hour or less, or 21 to 28. And the motorcycle one goes, obviously, can do 60 miles an hour, which is a serious piece of equipment. So what they did was they broke down what are the applications of each various things like age restriction, do you need helmets, registration, eye protection, operation restrictions, and rules of the road, and how that broke down into each class of bike, which is really excellent for the police because it gives them the ability, to deal with issues as they occur. And just give you one example, operation restriction, which you're probably all familiar with. The Class 1 e-bike, which a lot of our under 16-year-olds use, you're allowed to, if it's pedal assisted as well as an e-bike, you're allowed to go on the trail. Otherwise, you're not allowed to go on the trail, it's prohibited, and of course the highway is prohibited. With the Class 2, which is a more powerful bike, up to 28 miles an hour, there's no limited access to the highway or trails, none. With the motor-driven cycle, there's no limited access to the highway, sidewalks or trails, and the actual motorcycles, they can go on the highway obviously, but there's no sidewalks or trails, which was excellent for us because it really delineates what's allowed on our trails and what isn't, and that was obviously a big issue last year, if you remember. So we have this graphic. The police will function accordingly based on it. There was a couple of issues we did talk about, which was the police are not going to pursue any e-bike violations, but they will try and be as proactive as possible. And the reason for that is, obviously, if you have a pursuit, you end up in more trouble than you do. Plus, the state legislation frowns upon that. But there was, they're looking at potentially installing a couple of zoom cameras at the top and bottom of Center Street to sort of focus on this issue in terms of e-bikes, because that's where we had a lot of trouble last year as well, if you remember. And, but there were 2 open issues came up, and we'll talk about this at the next meeting. And actually, Councillor Palmieri brought them up based on his experience at the middle school, which was, what about motor scooters? We have power electric motor scooters. We see them obviously at the middle school. Where do they fit in to this chart? And honestly, we didn't know. So we'll have some information about that at the next meeting, and we'll talk about whether we need to do anything from an ordnance perspective. And the second issue was the helmet requirements for those scooters too. I understand they don't use helmets right now?
Some do.
Some do, some don't. Okay, so what is needed there? So long and short of it, there probably won't be much room for an ordinance, although we'll address these issues. But the police do have the ability now to work correctly with the various types of e-bikes. And essentially, in the summer when kids start using them again and congregating, they have the ability to work with them to prevent some of the stuff that was happening last year. So that's the first thing. Second thing was graffiti on town property, which is a fairly simple issue. Some residents complained when we had some various chalk-ins at the Apple Harvest Festival on our sidewalks. The town has a policy of getting rid of that stuff, any town property, obviously. We don't really want, people saying various slogans and things, because it may upset other people. But we were at at the very beginning of this issue, we stressed over and over again, this is not a free speech issue. It's an issue of vandalism, okay? And what we discussed was a couple of these things that were done at the Apple Harvest Festival lingered. They stayed there for a week or so. And so then, the question becomes, okay, what do we do about that? Well, the police say they have it covered in the sense that vandalism is covered. They do arrest people for, we had some paintings on overpasses. We do arrest people for that, and they could well be arrested for the same thing. Secondly, we talked about, the town sends people out to hose this stuff down wherever it occurs on town property, and it uses equipment. Do we focus on essentially finding people to get some of that stuff back? We left it on the agenda, but we asked Attorney Martaccio, to look at what's happening elsewhere and related legal considerations to that. So it's like I said, it's a vandalism issue. I know people there talked about it being a free speech issue. It wasn't, and I said this on the dais, and I said it again at the beginning, of the discussion. So that will be on the agenda for that minor point next time as well. And finally, the new thing that was put forward by a member of the Police Commission said there's been a way of essentially, another way of getting money back for services that we provide is talked about for the fire department when we send fire equipment out to car crashes. Do we sort of give a charge for that service to the at-fault person? Obviously not to both cars, but to the person causing a crash who caused this. Do we actually pass essentially a fine of some sort or a charge for the services? And there's a schedule of charges that other people use. It's going on in 43 other states. The charges are relatively small. They start from like 700 all the way up to about 1,600 if you have to extricate someone from a crash. And the charge is levied on the insurance company of the car that was considered at fault. It's got a lot of issues attached to it, as you can imagine. So we asked people to consider it, and we'll talk about it in the next meeting. Obviously, there's pros and cons to everything. Pro is, fiscal stuff. Cons are things like, are we going to ask people in town to essentially pay twice? They're paying for the service, and their insurance gets dinged, as well at the same time. So it's interesting, and we'll talk about it and come up with a resolution at the next one. And that's it.
Thanks, Tony.
Questions?
And just as a reminder, the subcommittee's charge, if any of these pass subcommittee, there'll be referrals back to the entire council one way or another for consideration. Any questions for Tony? Okay, thank you, Tony. Mike, item E, Public Works.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We had a very brief meeting on the 4th of February. Some of the highlights from that meeting were first and foremost snow removal from the chief. He wants to remind everyone it's your obligation and responsibility to clear your sidewalks. And Mr. LaPrey spoke from the Public Works Division. There were over 70 complaints of broken mailboxes. So there's a process for that, to go ahead and go on the Southington website to find out the process for that. And he wants to remind folks that it has to be from the actual plow, not from blowing snow. So he did actually, we may at a future meeting talk about, because right now everyone gets, I believe, $75 for broken mailboxes, which is pretty much across the board. From neighboring towns as well, but it could stand maybe some further discussion about putting more guidelines in, because a lot of these mailboxes that were either knocked over or broken from plows going by, the discussion that was had with the town manager for a lot of these complaints weren't weren't caused by Southington plows. So, the storm that we had a few weeks ago, that 16 to 20 inches that came down is a once in a, it's probably the most snow we've had in about 12 years. So you're gonna get situations like that. So a brief discussion was had. We may pick that up further in future meetings with regards to eradicating some of these issues with the broken mailboxes from snowstorms. Mr. Norris reminded us that the next meeting in March, there is going to be a brief presentation from the State DOT to the Public Works Committee. And then that same evening at 6 p.m., they will put on a full presentation about the bridge replacements over 84. They're doing 3 different roads throughout town, and there'll be a presentation, and you can also view the meeting virtually. So all that information is on the Southington website. So if anyone has any questions, they can either reach out to David Norris from the engineering department or look at the town website to get more details. I want to commend the Public Works Department for these last couple of storms. They really worked hard, and they weren't out there just for the storm. Apparently, they worked for about 32 hours straight, in shifts to try to get the roads cleaned up. I think they did a phenomenal job, and right up until last, even Saturday, they were still out clearing snow because of the large snow banks and trying to ease sight lines for corners. And so I think they did a fantastic job. David Arndt spoke from the Water Department. Mr. Zoni mentioned it earlier, the $3 million grant from Mr. Larson, from the federal government. It will come in very handy for the PFAS stuff. And we did have someone from the public come up and discuss about the appearance of the street trees in downtown Southington. And he believes that they have kind of outgrown their course. And there's going to be a discussion between him and Mr. Riccio, who sat in the original Town Renaissance project, to go ahead and replace those trees to something smaller, a little more aesthetically pleasing that aren't blocking storefronts. So they're gonna meet with some local companies to try to come up with some ideas of which type of trees to plant for the downtown area. And beyond that, we had a discussion that I also serve on the Economic Strike Committee meeting, and Mr. Perillo had discussed about enhancing the downtown area. As I mentioned last meeting, that Plantsville looks phenomenal, so I think we need to go back and maybe put a fresh paint on downtown Southington as well. And that just about did it for us. Mr. Chair, if there are any questions, I'm not sure if I missed anything, Mr. Zoni.
You got it all.
Okay, thanks.
Any questions for Mike?
Mike, was it the trees on Center Street or the trees on the town green?
Center Street.
Okay.
Yep, Center Street. The ones that are in the vaults.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're trimmed down now, but come summertime, they really blossom, and they're blocking storefronts, and they're just, they didn't grow to the expectation that we thought they would.
Thank you.
That's it. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
I didn't realize each one of these trees, Mike explained to me that they're in a vault, so you can pull them out and replace them quite easily.
Yep.
So great planning by some of the people who initiated that many years ago. I also wanted to give a shout out to Public Works as well, Mike, if it's okay. I want to echo your sentiment. I received 2 calls from a couple folks. One was on the east side of town, near Landing Street, who had said, hey, I'm snowed in, my corner, it's a bus stop, and had sent the email along to Alex. And, within a day or two, Public Works went and helped clear that corner. I got a call a couple days ago from Stephanie Urillo, former Councilwoman Urillo, and she wanted to pass along a thank you to Public Works as well. She was kind enough to call the Public Works Department and thank them. I guess there was some snow in a cul-de-sac that she lives in, and created a little bit of a problem. But, I think when you realize that perfection is the enemy when you have 2 feet of snow. So the first thing to do is to try to open things up and get things passable. And then oftentimes you go back and start to further clean. This was a situation in her area, in the cul-de-sac. There were some turnings there that were a problem, and she had called Public Works, and again, within a couple days, Public Works had come out and helped to further refine the scenario on her street. So thank you to Dr. Urillo for the positive feedback for Public Works, and thanks to the Public Works team for everything you're doing out there. Not just the snow, but the cold. It's been a brutal, brutal week, and I'm glad to see it's kind of starting to moderate a little bit this week, so hopefully they get a little bit of breathing room with a little bit of sun and seasonable temperatures. Okay, we're moving on to item 5, Town Manager's Report and Communications, and our Finance Director, Chrissy Marino, is here to deliver those from the Town Manager. Item A, Report of the Board of the Finance.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good evening, everyone. Included in your packets are the meetings from the January 28th, 2026 Board of Finance meeting. Key highlights from the meeting include a presentation from the fire department regarding staffing needs within the department. The discussion included several exchanges between board members and fire department representatives. The department provided additional information for the board's review that the board will take up in the future. There was also a discussion on the registrar's structure and compensation. The board is looking to have a policy finalized by April 1st. The finance department introduced 2 new members of their team, Jackie Santos, who will serve as the assistant finance director, and Josh Gregory, who is the department's new accountant. And that's it.
Any questions regarding Board of Finance? No? Hearing none, I'll just add on one item. I spoke with Chairman Leary a few days ago, last week actually, and taking some of the feedback from the last budget cycle. If you all who are here recall the last budget cycle, and maybe the handful of budget cycles prior to that, we oftentimes start our public hearing for the budget at the town council. So the Board of Finance recommended budget, we started at the very beginning of a council meeting. And this year, what I've decided to do is to add an additional meeting where we're going to introduce the budget. It's April the 6th here, 7 p.m. So it's the Monday before our council meeting. And the goal there is to have one agenda item. Presentation from the Board of Finance with the superintendent here, and of course, the town manager will be here. And we're going to open the public hearing that night. That is going to be the only agenda item for the night. And so instead of just having the Board of Finance at the beginning of a council meeting, being rushed, us having other agenda items, if you recall the last meeting here, there was a lot of feedback and some angry constituents who had sat through quite lengthy discussion on the budget before we even started our business meeting. And so in order to hopefully mitigate some of that, we will have this extra meeting. It'll be special meeting. It's been posted today. It's been sent to everybody. We will record the meeting as well. So for those town council members who cannot make it, we will record the meeting, and you'll be able to watch the meeting within a couple days, within a day or two, hopefully before the next council meeting. The hope here is that if we have questions of the manager, the superintendent, the finance directors, that we will have an opportunity to ask those at the meeting and give a week for those questions to be answered. I will request at that meeting that we table the public hearing, so we'll leave the public hearing open after that and carry it to the next town council meeting where additional public input could be had. If for those who weren't able to come the first time, we'll do that at the beginning of the meeting. We'll get our answers questioned and we'll close the public hearing. And then we'll digest for a couple weeks, and our next meeting will take a decision on the budget. Okay? So just a heads up there that's out there. If any council member needs a call in, just please let me know, and we'll work to make accommodations for that. But as I had mentioned, we will also not be taking action, and we will keep the public hearing open, hopefully, and we will record the session. Okay. Item B, report of recommendations from the Parking Authority. And Chrissy and I spoke before the meeting today. I think if it's okay with you, we were going to have the Parking Authority representative, Mr. Michael Riccio, present this topic.
Yes, that's
Oh.
correct.
Great. So Michael has agreed. He's been keeping the computer warm. Thanks, Mike. Mike's here to tell us a little bit about, if you remember, a few meetings ago, the council had sent to the parking authority a request to look at the parking in the downtown area, especially the municipal lot that we've now purchased, and make some recommendations on how can we improve that area from a parking perspective. And now we're here to hear the suggestion.
Sure, thank you. Before I start, I want to introduce Mr. Ron Ingraselli and Mr. Michael Gaudio. They are here with me as representatives of the Parking Authority, and I'll make my presentation. If they want to add anything, I would like to welcome them to come up and do that.
Thank you.
What we were kind of tasked with was to look at what you guys have recently purchased and how does that play into parking in the downtown. And we had a meeting, we had a ton of input from all the members and town staff. And we wanted to do three things. We wanted to, first and foremost, look at the parking and see if we can create more parking spaces, change the configuration of what you guys purchased because there's travel lanes that we didn't need anymore. That was number one. Number two was safety, to look at safety and how that plays into the whole parking plan downtown and in the green, because we're right there. And then third was aesthetics, and we've been able to address all three of those. And so, thank you, Mr. Chairman, for giving me this pointer. Been having fun with it during the meeting, pointing at everybody. Let me just start with the number of parking spaces. So we looked at what you guys bought. You bought the whole piece, but in this area right here, there was that massive double lane travel lane with guardrails and all that. And what the members decided was, obviously, we didn't need that anymore. So we've closed off that exit. This parking lot has over, I think, 5 entrances on Center Street, on Apple Alley, on Columbus, and on Liberty Street. So we don't need that many, so we were able to pick up a couple spots right there. We got rid of, and it's very hard to see, but we got rid of the travel lane. So it was basically where all these new spaces are, was the old travel lane. You can see the old arrows right there. You can see them right there. And we got rid, so the guardrails are gone, and we got rid of the row of parking that's behind Pralines and Anthony Jack's that was opposite this row. So we're keeping the row along the buildings, and we're eliminating this row here, but we're picking up all these extra spaces. So we have a net, with Apple Alley and all this, we have a net new parking total of 14 parking spaces, which was really incredible. We didn't think we would get that many.
10, Mike, 10.
No, it's actually
It's 14, it's 10. We confirmed with the town engineer today.
okay. So something's changed between this morning and now, but we have a net positive number of spaces. We'll get the final answer on that. So what this does, it's really great for these businesses here because the guardrails are gone, and now it's just better flow and better access to the backs of all these retail shops here, whether they're restaurants or shops. So it's definitely better walking access in here than the way it is now. And then on Apple Alley, we've changed the way you park on Apple Alley to create more of a park-like atmosphere when you're looking at the town green. So the parking along the green is eliminated. You can see some cars parked there. We're keeping 2 right here because we have the room for it. And then you angle park as you go in here. So what that does is aesthetically much, much more pleasing. But from a safety perspective, you have a lot less crossing the street back and forth all the time. More people using the sidewalk here. And it opens up, I mean, if you guys have seen the green on a Friday during the farmer's market, it's a mob scene, but it's also dangerous because people are coming off the green and cutting between all the cars that are parked here. So we wanted to create a much safer thing that looks good. You notice right here, we've choked down the entrance to Apple Alley to make it less of a speedway. It is a little bit of a speedway right now. Cars come around this corner and boom, they fly down the street right here. My office happens to be basically right down here, so I can see right up the street. And it's a pretty heavily traveled road, but speed is an issue. So the aesthetics come into play here with just the look and feel of how our town green presents itself. And then the remaining aesthetics are in the islands that we're creating here. So the last thing from a kind of beautification look and a safety look is lighting. And so how can we create a safe parking area at night that's well lit, doesn't break the bank, and is tastefully done? So we're going to have some landscaped islands with some trees. And what we could do is, you know, obviously it's a tight budget year this year. We could just trench, lay the wires, and then as we can afford it, we can add the light poles. Because we do want to make sure that we maintain the light poles, at least the coloring and the style that are on Center Street and Main Street. There'll be a different kind of a head on it because we don't, those bulb heads look great for where they're positioned, but in a large parking area, we need a different type of down spot. And I saw some in East Haven the other day. I forgot to take a picture, but I'll run back there this week and show those to the town engineer because I think it's exactly what he's looking for. And we can match the color of our existing poles. They're not cheap, the poles that we have on Center Street and Main Street, but you know that was a 50 to 75 year plan, so I think we should maintain the plan. And we can do it over time. We can lay the groundwork underground, and as we can afford it, we can add those. We can leave the lights that are there for now and then take them down. Because if you go down there, I didn't even realize it until they pointed it out at the meeting. There's a bunch of wires overhead in that parking lot. It's really ugly looking. So we do have some, for the police commission, we have some cameras down there that we'll be able to maintain for safety reasons, which will be nice for public safety. Did I miss anything that you guys wanted me to talk about? I think that's everything. We're really excited about it. We hope you guys are too. We think it'll be great for the merchants, great for using the green. I know, you know, during the Apple Harvest Festival, this road doesn't really totally get shut down during the week, but we're happy to work with the Apple Harvest Committee, Chris, to, you know, if for that week we needed just to, obviously restripe, but if we need to make accommodations, it's no big deal. It's for 5 days, Monday through Friday, because then it gets shut down on the weekends. So we're not really concerned about the Apple Festival. We think that'll work out fine. Music on the green won't change. It's going to be a good plan. Any questions from the? And we will, if we're putting in trees, you know, we talked about the Public Works Committee with Mike. We could probably accommodate whatever decision you guys in your Public Works Committee decide on the trees. But I want to thank the council for that, allowing, you know, it's Bill Delavec and I, you know, we want to work together to make that happen, and we're meeting with staff on Friday. But that was a long-range plan downtown, and we did put tree vaults in the sidewalk specifically for this reason. We did not think the trees would get this big this quickly. Some of them on Lower Center Street are only maybe 15 years old, but here we are. I love the way they look, but not everybody does, so we're going to try and get a tree that's not expensive, that can last, is a little lower, won't grow as high, and it'll look aesthetically pleasing. But we don't want to change the design. The town, I did it the other day, I put it into chat. Back when we did it, we would have spent the equivalent of $5 million in today's dollars to make this downtown look pretty spectacular. So we want to make sure that we keep it that way. If you look at the tax dollars that we're getting back since we expended that money, it's paid for itself. I did the numbers 4 or 5 years ago, 10, 20 times over. It's insane with the renovations in the building that's going on downtown. So from a tax perspective, economic development, it worked.
Any questions for Mike? Lou, would you mind turning the front lights on, please? Thanks, Mike. Mike, I'll just add a couple things. The angled parking, I think, is such a nice touch. I'm not sure if, we're not looking for action on this tonight, probably next meeting, so please digest this for the council. But I just wonder whether the 2 spots at the top are needed, given you know.
They
so
came
just
up,
consider it.
in fact, you know, I'm not even sure that Mike and Ron saw those until it got mailed out, because that did not come up at our meeting, but the town engineer suggested it the other day. And I think if we asked we have to be mindful of the businesses that are there. I know the town's providing the parking for these resident places, but I think if you asked Sue at the Pepper Pot, she'd say, I really need those spaces.
My only comment is, I received a call after the snowstorm from an emergency professional in our community.
Yep.
And we had some photos of Apple Alley, right where those two spots are, looking down Apple Alley.
Right here.
And what I'll tell you is, when we have these large snowstorms, you have snowbanks on the side with the town green, and you have snowbanks on the side with the 22 Main Street and the municipal lot. And what happens in that scenario is the cars that park on either side can't get close enough to the curb because the banks are kind of encroaching into the road. They just can't get all the snow off of the sidewalk. So a little bit stays. And if you have a passenger, or depending on which side of the road you're on, the cars tend to not pull right up close to the snowbank because they can't get out of the car.
Yep.
So what does that mean? When there's two cars, the traversing lane down the middle becomes really small, and that's what happened. The person couldn't get down Apple Alley. It was
okay.
so tight, they had to stop and back out because they had an SUV, and they couldn't get down because it was constricted. So I just worry that would still be the case here if there were snowbanks with the
It could be.
parking.
Angled parking will not solve it 100%, but it'll make it much better. That's up to you guys. I mean, we were tasked with to create as much parking as we could. And I can tell you that we could squeeze a few more in here, but the safety became an issue in the parking lot. Aesthetics became an issue, so it was a little bit of a balance. And the town engineer, when I went the other day, he had said, there's room here. And I said, well, you could put it on the plan for discussion. But if you guys think you want to limit, I mean, overall, I think the business should be very happy. We picked up 14 spots. You say 10, I don't think that's correct, but I don't want to say it 100% without checking with the town engineer. Just everything about it is much better. I'll say that if a restaurant comes in here, I know there's a new restaurant going in on Center Street. I think there's going to come a time where the restaurants are going to need to get together on their own. The town can't do everything, and just on a Friday and Saturday night bring a valet in, because the Riccio parking lot is empty. So we always hoped for a parking problem, because if you have a parking problem, it's for a good reason. But I think the restaurants are going to need to kind of take their own initiative and bring in a valet service, you can get them anywhere, and use that Riccio parking lot to park.
Sounds like a great business opportunity for somebody to start a valet service in town.
Sure.
Okay, any other questions on this? Yeah, go ahead, Tony.
Just a quick one. Yeah, Mike, because obviously you were part of the thing 15 years ago. Do we need another minor study to look at the design going forward of the downtown? Because we've always talked about the parking, we talked about the trees, public works. They're all parts of the same thing. Do we assume that the old study is relevant here, or do we need a fresh look at it?
I don't know, Tony, because when we started this, we didn't have as much parking. When the Renaissance Project started, we didn't have the Congregational Church. At that time, if you remember, the festival was in a dirt mud hole.
I don't remember. I wasn't here then.
Oh, you weren't here. So it was a mud hole up behind the fountain. That's all public parking now. The Riccio lot got expanded. The Florians built their thing behind the old movie theater. So we got that additional parking lot. Then we bought, we took control of all of this. We took control behind Pralines. We took control behind American Legion, 98 Main. We joined them all together. This is before the Renaissance Project. This was after the Renaissance Project. And then we got
Liberty Street.
We got on Liberty Street. We got behind Michael's building, and we got the Groggy Frog, and then we got South Center Street, and we paved that. So I wouldn't want you guys to expend money that would be almost wasteful. The plan was a 50 to 75 year plan. That's why we put in granite curbs and not concrete. We put in the granite, that was a Matt Florian idea, was the 12 to 16 inch granite inlay before the sidewalk started. The one thing that we'll need to, and we knew this, address eventually is a systematic, not next year, probably not in 5 years, but eventually need to replace this the bricks. because the bricks weren't meant to last that long. I think there's newer bricks that are better now, but over time. The one thing that we were doing when I was on the council under Gary Brumback's leadership, and I don't know if you guys are still doing this or not, but we were taking the poles, the benches, and the garbage. We talked about this at Michael's meeting, and we were sending them out, and the tree grates, getting them sandblasted and powder coated, not painted, but powder coated. That was a systematic thing. When they came back, they looked brand new. So I don't know if that's still going on, but if it's not, from a maintenance perspective, you guys might want to look at that again. I really haven't been paying attention.
Mr. LaPrez mentioned that there's a program now that he just was
The
reached
state.
out, contacted by a company that does it. It's a, I don't know, lease type situation. So he's going to get more information and probably report out at the next Public Works meeting.
And the colors can be the same.
Green.
Yeah. I think, I've always had the opinion, it's just my opinion, that downtown Southington and downtown Plantsville don't need to look alike. Downtown Plantsville came out amazing. It's beautiful, but I don't think they need to look alike. So, they're two different areas. And
Any other questions for Mike?
Thanks, Mike.
Good, Mike? Awesome, you guys. Thanks for coming out.
yeah,
Really
thanks.
good job.
Thank you,
Exciting.
Mike and Ron. And
Good job.
Dee Babkirk couldn't be here. She sends her apologies.
Thank you. That's mine, right? Okay. So we have the report of the recommendations from the Parking Authority. We'll put that on a future council for decision. Thanks. Okay, moving on to item C under Town Manager's Report, Board of Education Elementary School Referendum.
The Board of Ed met last week and reintroduced a possible referendum on the rehabilitation and expansion of South End School, as well as the building of a new, larger Kelly School on the current property, as well as closing Flanders and redistricting the students. They plan on making a final decision at their next meeting on February 19th.
So I put this on the agenda today as kind of a first read for the council for a few reasons. Number one, eventually, if the Board of Ed makes a decision on a referendum, it's going to come here, and we're going to have to create some referendum language around that, and we're going to have to take that up and disposition it. The second thing is, I've had some discussions with Zaya and with other members about the referendum, and just to clarify, the proposal that was made by the committee to the Board of Ed, which is before the Board of Ed right now, is to build a brand-new Kelly School on the Kelly School property, which is in dire need. It's just, Kelly School is, all three of these schools are, they need help. So build a new Kelly School, demolish the existing Kelly School, and at the same time, build out the lower level of South End, which, for those of you who may not know, there's a shell that was built when South End was upgraded in the lower level that's empty right now, and it was shelled out purposely for this purpose in the future to provide an expansion opportunity. So build a new Kelly School, slightly bigger, a little bit bigger than the existing Kelly School to accommodate a few more students. Build out the South End lower level to accommodate a few more students. The current Darrenowski School, so that would be the first referendum, those two together. The current Darrenowski Board of Education reports is underutilized. I want to say it's like 70% utilization or less. And so the theory is, with the additional capacity at Kelly, the additional capacity at South End once the buildings are built, and the current larger capacity at Darrenowski, if the referendum passed about 3 years from when the referendum passes, the schools would be ready and they would close Flanders School. And as they close Flanders School, redistrict the entire town. The entire town would get redistributed amongst the remaining schools, including Darrenowski, Kelly, and South End. There would be a proposed second referendum, say 5 years from now. I think we did the calculations according to our debt services, and I want to say it was somewhere in the 2030, 2031. Second referendum would be Darrenowski in building a new Darrenowski building, smaller than the current Darrenowski, on the lower level field of the existing Darrenowski facility, okay? So what's before the Board of Ed right now is that phase one, Kelly, South End, and redistricting as part of that. And the question that's floating around out there is, if they do that, and if this goes to referendum and passes, what is the council thinking about for Flanders School? And I would offer to everybody here to think about that, so that we can, I think it's up, I stood before the Board of Ed last week and I said, I think it's important that you, whatever decision you make about school closures and referendums, you gotta tell the residents the entire story. You have to tell them your entire strategy and vision for the schools, so that you're not only presenting a referendum for Kelly, you're presenting the referendum for Kelly with the redistricting that is required to happen based on the schools that they're proposing, so that they can get the funding that they need. Otherwise, if they don't do the redistricting and close the school, they can't get the funding. They can't meet the utilization requirement that they are proposing. So, whatever school they decide to close, right now the proposal is Flanders before them. What does council think? Because once that's done, the building becomes ours. The building's already owned by the government already, the town government, so we would then take that building over, and what would we do with it? I would offer that we're gonna have to consider those before the referendum, and also give what we think the future could look like, at least some initial commitments. For example, I would propose that we offer that Kelly School will not be demolished and sold to a developer to develop the property, right? Flanders, my apologies. That Flanders does not become sold and developed for low-income affordable housing or any housing, the building be repurposed instead. I think that there's opportunities that we should all bat around in the months ahead. There's opportunities to repurpose that for municipal purposes, various much less intense municipal purposes than a school. And so I'd like to just plant that seed out there. I think that we're gonna have to make some decisions on what our expectations will be as we start to head towards a referendum decision. So no action, really just putting it out there to everybody so that you can start to kind of get in your own mind, talk to some people, and solidify in your own mind, what you think might be a good strategy for those properties. Okay? Okay. Moving on to item 6, Town Attorney's Report.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Pretty simple report from me tonight. I'm working with Mike Fasulo and members of his organization for the new drive-in committee that's coming up. We're hoping to finalize that agreement. I met with Alex, Mike, and Dave about 2 weeks ago. I'd say we're 95% there, so hoping to have that before the next town council meeting.
Okay. Any questions for the town attorney? Okay. Thank you. Hearing none, we'll move on to item 7, public communications. If there's any member of the public who would like to speak tonight, please come on up to the podium and state your name and address for the record.
Anne Marie Conity, 1237 Mount Vernon Road, Southington, Connecticut.
Anne Marie, would you close the laptop so we can see you fully? Thank you.
Yeah, you don't have
We
to
don't
see-
need it for the rest of the night.
You don't have to
We
see.
kept it awake long enough. Thank you, Anne Marie.
I'm here
Welcome.
primarily, and I have texted the town council and the finance board. I'm here primarily to request a real tax program for seniors. I think we're at a point where it's long overdue that we're pricing seniors out of their homes with taxes. And I think you really have to have a committee put together and be proactive. I've asked this for years. The last time I asked it, Dave Zoney was a town council person. And I've had all kinds of excuses why we cannot do it. Where's the money gonna come from if we give the seniors a break? Well, let's be real. A lot of those seniors, with the money that they can spend, they're going south, or they're putting their residency south and spending their money there. So you want that to keep happening? We have a Board of Ed that's taken up, I don't know the exact figures, but they take up at least 60% of our budget. Probably, I don't, yeah, I want to say more. And it's unsustainable. So taxes are going to keep going up and up and up. Seniors are going to be forced more and more out of their homes. Now, just recently, with the supermajority, I don't know what kind of power our governor has, but he has a lot of power. The farmers got together and they put some real pressure on them. They were threatening to, well, a lot of them were going to go bankrupt. They were looking at a major tax hike. So the farmers won. So what the governor said is, I'm going to take the valuation. This is just one scenario. I'm going to take the valuations from 2020 on the farms, and I'm going to take those valuations. I'm not going to do any more revaluations on your properties anymore, and that's how you're going to pay taxes. Farmers were thrilled. Now they can afford to stay on their farms. Maybe something like that works. I don't know. What do you want to set it at? 65 years old, 70 years old, 75 years old? You want to set it at their gross earnings? They got to bring their tax forms? You got to do something. You got to stop making excuses. And all I keep getting is excuses. So I don't think anyone really wants to do anything. And it's difficult. And my second, that's all I'm going to say on that topic. But I think you have to do something. The other thing I want to say is, when is this referendum that the Board of Ed is proposing? How soon do they want to do it? And I just heard you explain it nicely. I think along with the plan of how many schools, they lie to us about the number of kids. I don't care what they say. They're calling it a national crisis because the younger generation isn't having children. So when they say we're going to have the elementary numbers increasing, they're lying. I don't care what they say. The younger kids are not having kids. So along with what they want to do and what schools and when, I think they have to say, we're going to put 500 kids in this school, 600 kids in this school, 700 kids in this school, and we're not looking at 5 years, we're looking at 10 years down the road, because they're taking up, like you said, more than 60% of our budget. It's unsustainable. And then when we say, you know, I never saw something so protected as the Board of Ed, where they never talk about layoffs. When they talk about layoffs, they always threaten the teachers, and then the parents get all nervous. So then I say, well, what about administration, which we know is top-heavy? And then they wait to give their raises till after the budgets are made, and it's always given to administration. And then we find out, well, they give multiple year contracts to administration, so you can't touch them. So you know what? Level fund. The law says you can level fund. Level fund, level fund, level fund, level fund. Let the six-figure and the administrators earn their money. Let them find where to spend the money. But you put a referendum in soon, and I'll give up all the things that I'm working on except my animals. And when they told my mother, Sandy Feld, and me we couldn't do anything to save the building where Soka is, we proved them wrong. I'll do everything I can to get a no vote on the referendum if that referendum goes before they don't give us solid numbers, the truth, and exactly what they're going to do 5 to 10 years from here. Because people are struggling, and it's the hard-class working people that are struggling. It's real easy when you're making six figures to take those extra tax hikes, but it's getting way out of control. And like I said, you got to be proactive with everything now. You have a fiscal responsibility to the town, and everything rests right here. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Anne Marie.
You're welcome.
You brought up a couple good points. I'll clarify a couple items for the public that you brought up.
Okay.
The first is regarding the referendum. The Board of Ed last week was talking about a sometime June referendum. With respect to the data that you talked about them providing the information, the community can go on the Board of Education website and search District-Wide Facilities Committee presentation. If you search the District-Wide Facilities Committee, all the meeting minutes there, presentations, student enrollment, current student enrollments of the last X numbers of years and projected, and the schools that they're proposing are reflective of those enrollments that they expect in the next 5 to 10 years, as well as the numbers of students in each of the schools. So it's there. There's a cost savings plan as well. I think that the superintendent presented last year at DePaulo Middle School that does talk about, maintaining classroom size. So teachers who might be at Flanders School, the proposal is not to reduce classroom teachers. Take those classroom teachers because those students will go to another school. So they would move the classroom teachers. But there are administrative positions and other positions in the school that the superintendent did highlight as cost savings if the redistricting occurs. All of that information is available. It's in unbelievable detail there. So I would encourage you to go look at that information and, come to one of the future meetings with questions if you have them. Okay. Anybody else who would like to speak during public communications? Come on up. Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Cynthia Herron, 6 Sycamore Road in Southington, Connecticut. Mine is a question. I'm not sure if this is the right place, but the snow plows, it seems like some of the streets, the snow is piled up so high that it's hard to see the oncoming traffic. Is that something that is addressed here? Yeah, so on Aircraft Road, I'm not sure the other one, but Aircraft Road, there's a big pile of snow besides one of the buildings there. And then also coming down off of West Queen Street, when I go into my street at Cedar Spring West, I'm not sure the name of that street, but the snow's piled up. It's hard to see the oncoming traffic. It's dangerous.
That's West Queen?
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you.
We will send this to the town manager, but in your spare time, try it out. Go to the town website and look for that form.
I will.
And if you can, also try to put it there, but you have our commitment. We'll get this to the town manager as
appreciate
well. We may as well try to submit it and see how it works.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Please, come on up. Just state your name and address for the record.
Good evening. Ian Gottlieb, 433 Spring Street. I wanted to introduce myself. I've been nominated to fill the open seat for the Fair Rent Commission spot. Just wanted to kind of give you some information about myself. I've been a practicing attorney since 2002. I moved to Southington in 2008, raised my family here. Kids have been through the Southington elementary schools, high school. My oldest is graduating this year. I maintain my practice in housing. I represent landlords. We litigate cases. We try housing-related cases. I spend a lot of time in fair rent commissions. I also spend a lot of time litigating with fair rent commissions as well. We're real estate focused. And since the rules have changed with fair rent commissions over the past few years, I see a lot of things that are good and a lot of things that are bad. We also help tenants. There are occasions when we're appointed to represent people pro bono. It's something that we're required to do. We fulfill that obligation as attorneys. But more importantly, I did want to just kind of introduce myself and say hi to everybody, and I hope the process goes well.
Thank you, Attorney Gottlieb.
Thank you.
We have your appointment towards the end of the meeting coming up.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there any other member of the public who would like to speak during public communications? Any other member? Okay. Hearing none, we'll close the public communications and move on to our only item for old business, item 8, old business A, action on the report of Board of Finance.
Mr. Chair. Second.
So we have a motion to approve the meeting minutes from the Board of Finance from Mike, and a second from Tony. Any discussion on that? No discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion passes unanimously on the report of the Board of Finance meeting minutes. Item 9, new business appointments. Number 1, we have a council appointment for Library Board of Directors, 1 member, 4-year term expiring November 2029. I'm looking for a motion to nominate Crystal McKeevers.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion for that. Crystal McKeever, 1505 West Street.
Okay, we have a motion.
Second.
Second from Mr. Morelli. Any discussion? Okay, hearing none. All in favor of Crystal McKeevers?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Item 2, Commission for Persons with Disabilities, one member, 2-year term expiring April 2027. I'm looking for a motion to table on that.
Move the table.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously to table. Item 3, we have a town manager's appointment, which we received a note from Alexon, Conservation Commission alternates, one member, 4-year term expiring April 2029. Madam Director of Finance sitting in for town manager.
Town Manager Riccadone appoints Nicole Ally of 406 Buckland Street.
Okay, Nicole Alley is appointed Conservation Commission alternate. Item 4, council appointment. We're looking for a motion for Fair Rent Commission, one member, 4-year term expiring February 2029 for Attorney Ian Gottlieb. Did I say the last name correct? Yes. Gottlieb.
I'd like to make a motion to appoint Ian Gottlieb of 433 Spring Street.
Second.
We have a motion from Councilman Serafino and a second from Councilman Del Santo. Any discussion about Attorney Gottlieb?
I just want to thank you for coming and introducing yourself. It's helpful to know who we're appointing, so thank you.
Yeah, great to put a name to the, face to the name. Anybody else? Okay, hearing none, looking for a motion, looking for, all in favor for Ian Gottlieb for fair rent?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Excellent, motion passes unanimously, congratulations. And the last appointment, number 5, we have an appointment for Seed Committee, one member, 4-year term expiring August 31, 2029.
Hallelujah, we have a name.
We have a name.
This was a tricky one because as we said, it has to be a resident living in the enterprise zone. Well, I'm pleased to put forward the name of Dave Delory. His address is 43 Riverside Drive. He's a certified Connecticut real estate appraiser, a certified Connecticut tax assessor. He's involved in the Connecticut Manufactured Homeowners Alliance and became president of that since 2022. So I think he'll be a good addition, and he lives in the enterprise zone. So I'm pleased to put forward the name of Dave Delory.
We have a motion for Dave Delory.
I'll second.
Second from Councilwoman Gaida. Any discussion about Dave Delory for Seed? Okay, if no discussion, all in favor of Dave Delory?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passes unanimously for Dave Delory for the Enterprise Zone resident. Item 10, adjournment. Mike? Second. I will give it to Dave. Dave was really aggressive there. Assertive, I should say, Dave, assertive. All in favor for adjournment? Aye. Any opposed?